Hey all, today we're going to use Apify and Make.com to create a monetizable newsletter of remote jobs. So first, I guess you might ask, why would you want to do this? Basically, there's a number of programs like Substack and Beehive, and there's a number of newsletter programs that basically allow you to have a payment gateway to regularly serve customers information. And this example is basically using, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that want to work remote. So I thought maybe a newsletter of jobs that are available to work remote might be a good monetizable kind of newsletter you could create. It's just an example, but this is basically how you do it. So first thing we need a connection to Apify, because we will use Apify to actually, without any code, scrape. In this case, Indeed.com, obviously there's probably some copyright issues, but this is just an example. Basically, we use Apify in this case. So I'll show you Apify. Basically, what you can do is there's a number of different of these actors, they call them. Basically, they're simple web scrapers that, I mean, kind of self-explanatory here. You can use it to search for example, I've typed in full stack developer. You can choose a location, experience level, obviously choose a date. I've chosen remote. We're probably most interested in the JSON way of expressing the parameters effectively. So that's what it looks like. Basically, Make.com, of course, you need an API connectivity, which you can get if you just basically create a free account. There's a limit. You can see it down the bottom here. I've used 50 cents out of $5, and I've used it quite extensively today. So it's quite a cheap, and that's within the free tier. So that's all nice and easy. So basically, in the Apify mapping here, we have a look at that. Okay, so we have a connection which we've created earlier with an API key. I won't show you how to do that. It's pretty simple. We choose the actor, which is the one we were just looking at. We want to run it synchronously because we want it to complete before it goes on to the next step. Here's the input JSON that we were just looking at. So job type contract I've chosen a query Python developer, remote, and sort by date. So this is the build that is available. If we go back to Apify, we would see that you just use the latest in most cases. Timeout. We have to set timeout a little bit high here, and this is 300 seconds. Reason is this web scraping can take quite a while, so I've set it to 300 seconds or 5 minutes. Memory, you can define this if you like to, but I just like to leave it as default basically. So we go okay. Well, I'll cancel in this case, but normally we go okay. Now, well, that will go away when we run it, and it would run and go and scrape the website with a number of results. Basically, here we look at the results we receive. So basically, connection, obviously the same connection. Importantly, we choose this one down here, which is the default dataset ID, because every time this particular app runs, it will return a data set of which we need to choose the dataset ID, which gets pumped out by the API. Data transformation, I've left it as clean. Basically, the difference is that one removes empty fields and one doesn't. There's a number of different formats there available. Format JSON is fine. Limits, in a production environment, you increase that as high as you could, but for this one, we'll just leave it at 100. We don't need to offset any items. Okay, so once we've done that, now I'll talk about this later, but you notice this grey kind of shading kind of indicates a loop, but we'll have a look at that in a later step. Now, what we want to do is compose a string from basically, okay, so our ultimate aim here is to create a PDF with a list of different job listings. I might actually show you the output that we're aiming for. Basically, we want to create a list like this, which are a number of different job listings as a kind of as a PDF basically. So we'll just go back. I'm back. Okay, so here we go. So we want to create. This is kind of for each one of these. We want to create a display title, being this one here, Software Engineering Manager in this case. The link. so we can link, so people can click on the link and go off to back where it actually is advertised, location, and I've put in remote, even though that's a bit obvious. It's kind of, this shows as remote always, which is this one here. Okay, so we'll cancel that. The text aggregator, now this is an interesting one, and it got me a bit stumped there for a little while. Basically, you need to, in the source module, you need to define the step that it is being aggregated or being kind of put together. So previously I'd chosen the wrong step, but we basically want one result. And you see here we've got one result. And what this does is this is all the input. There's a ton of it. There's about 100 of them. And you only want one output. So we want a huge long string that aggregates all those, the ones we created in compose a string, puts them together. And the way to describe this is basically you have one output when there's one input at the start of the loop. I consider this grey shading to kind of be a loop, in a programming sense. So that gets put together. Look at this, it's just the text that we're getting from this step here, the compose a string step, just putting it together basically. And this step here just kind of encodes it, puts the text that we've stuck together here, concatenated here, and puts it in a very simple HTML body. From that, we can create a PDF. You need a subscription here for PDF for me. There's probably other ways to do it. This is just a simple way I used. Basically, we've got a simple file name. I don't even know why they bother to do that because it's not really necessary, but basically PDF document, this is the document information that comes from the previous step. Creating in a layout as portrait, it's just a simple A4 document or whatever kind of document type that you want. You can choose portrait landscape, it's pretty obvious. That's all good. And an email, nice simple one in that basically we don't want to save the message. Potentially we could be sending hundreds. This is just a fake email address. Subject, HTML, here you go. PDF for me. This is from the previous step. This is just the PDF that we've created. And basically we won't run it today, but I will show you one that I created earlier. As I said, it looks like this, just a big long listing of remote jobs that are available on Indeed.com under that specific search component being Python jobs. Now, I know for a fact that there actually is monetized versions of these lists that are available on Substack. That's what kind of inspired me to create this little automation that, in a very small sense, creates the same thing. I mean, if you wanted to move this into a production kind of thing, you would create a number of different Apify apps that scrape not just Indeed, but scrape Monster, Seek. There's hundreds of different job sites. You could combine them into one particular long string and output it obviously with better formatting in the mind and better categorization. But you get the idea of what is possible with these make.com automations. Anyway, all right. Thanks very much. Thanks for listening.